Hello, everyone. I'm Andrei Nozhenko. I'm a product owner of anyLogistix. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for joining our conference. And today, I want to tell you about the latest news and plans of the anyLogistix software. And let me share my screen. And for those who joined our conference recently or maybe not familiar with anyLogistix, I just want to remind what are we about. First of all, anyLogistix is a supply chain optimization tool which we develop for logistics specialists and consultants and try to do their work as easier as it possible. For the solving problems, we use combination of analytical and dynamic simulation methods, and anyLogic for dynamic simulation, and Simplex from IBM for analytical optimization. Also, we provide visualization such as dashboard to observe and analyze the supply chain. So the combination of analytical and dynamic simulation methods allows us to solve problems from the high level of abstraction with very low amount of input data, such as where to locate distribution centers and factories, till the low abstraction problems, which require lots of details and input data, up to how inside processes or outside disasters or events can influence the whole supply chain. And now let's move to our news. So the main and major news that we have is that we have released anyLogistix 3, and I want to proudly present you this version. It's already available for download on our website. And a few words about anyLogistix 3. So first of all, we moved from pure desktop application to client-server technologies, and now we can provide for our customers desktop and server installation. Desktop is available for Windows and Mac OS, and server installation is available for Linux. Also, we worked a lot on the performance and built internal PostgreSQL database. Also, client-server technologies allowed us to make interface modern and pretty looking. And the last but not the least, now we can suggest multiple languages support, and in the release that already on our website, you can find that English and Chinese are already released. And let me show the live demo of anyLogistix and show you the features that we implemented. So the first, you open anyLogistix, you will see a welcome screen. We put here different useful links such as documentation, list of our trainings and events, videos with our webinars, how-to and demos, link to our blog. So if you click it, you'll see our latest news and news about the releases, success stories, and so on. Also, you can contact us by our website or join our community on Reddit, where you can answer your questions or maybe answer questions for other people who use anyLogistix. In the middle and bottom section, you can see information about the software itself and the list of example scenarios which are available. And also here is a brief information about different types of problem areas that we have. Greenfield, for example, greenfield analysis. Short information about greenfield analysis, which you can, by this link, follow to the documentation, and links to video, which are describing greenfield analysis experiment, some tutorial exercises, and full documentation. And here are examples that represent this type of problems. So the same is for network optimization and the simulation types of experiments. And let me open one of our examples to show you the main view of the software, which changed a lot. And what we have here, let me briefly describe the main parts of the view. So at the left top part, here is the project management, where you can create new projects or manage existing ones. After that, tabs with the types of problem areas, settings menu for the complex work with the scenarios, and one of the main and important features is the help, which allows you to read documentation, to ask our support team for some help. You can describe any troubles, any questions here, attach scenario that you work with, select any additional file, send to the support team, and you will be answered. Also, you can make a feature request where you can describe any ideas you want to see in anyLogistix, to what you want to improve maybe. And also everything will be taken into consideration by our team. So you are welcome. We read all these emails with pleasure. So the next part is the scenarios tab. Scenarios are located like browser tabs. And the map, experiments list here, and the data tables to the bottom. So this did not change a lot. Now let me run the simulation experiment and continue. So the first thing I want to show you that now all the interface is adjustable. So if you want, for example, to see only the map or validate the animation or demonstrate someone the capabilities of simulation, you can enter the full screen mode, where you will see that all the panels are collapsed. Each of them can be restored back. The same for the dashboard. Also, dashboard can be viewed in full screen mode if you need. And let me now run experiment. So here we have the card with the data. As you see, data now is not editable during the experiment is running. So it's running in the background, so you can continue work with some other scenarios or run another experiments. All of them will be running in the background. Also, data tables can be viewed in full screen mode. And if you need more space, you can unpin the tables list and it will be hidden. So if you hover, it will restore back. You can pin it again. And if we return back to the simulation scenario, as you see, this collapsed panel is also clickable. You can return back here and return to simulation. Let me run it fast forward, and then we will explore the results. Here we have the result of the simulation. It's a set of statistics dashboards, and let me show you what improvements do we have in this section. So first of all, if you want to modify somehow the layout of the chart on the dashboard, you can just drag for the right bottom corner and everything will move down or to the left or to the right. So you can take one chart, switch it with another, and so on. If you want to see it full screen, it's also available. And here I want to show you a new option of the visibility of the charts. If I open the legend of this chart, you will see that each of the legend items have color to the left and the eye icon to the right. And some of them have disabled eye. So in the left bottom corner, you can see information about how many charts you can see on the main view. And you can, for example, hide all of them, show all of them, or for example, if I hide them again, you can filter all the legend items. For example, I want to see available inventory for all the ports I have. Now I can click this button and I'll see that only the port items are visible now and the rest are invisible. Also, you can select them and hide each item personally. And all the changes that you make in a full screen mode also will be applied to the dashboard. Here is the chart that we worked with. All the changes I made are applied here. If for some reason you do not like the layout of the dashboard that you created and you want to restore the default view is 3 in a row, you can just click this button and everything will be layouted back. And next, I want to show you the map options. So here are the buttons to show paths, full screen mode, and also we provide an option to show objects on a map, like they are physically located on a map, but also connections between object view is available. It's a network structure view. Here we can move to the network structure view. Here we can see only the connections between the objects, ignoring the physical locations of each object. Also, they can be combined into groups. For example, here we have 28 customers distributed from 2 distribution centers. By double click, we can see the content of these 28 customers. Also, here is a group. Each of the customer can be selected here in the list, and it will be selected in the table. If you select a group, the group will be selected, and you can see the contents of this group if you want. Also, you can modify the layout of this graph by moving nodes. For example, if I want to have for this group all the customers by this vertical line, just for me, it will be more comfortable to read this scheme. I can do this. If I, for example, make some mistake, I can undo this by the hotkeys. And also, if I click and hold Alt button, I can take a node, move it, and it will be moved with its children. So I can modify all the scheme as I want. I can move nodes one by one or with child. Also, I can zoom if you have a big structure here, and this mini map can help you to navigate through all the structure. If you want to return to the full screen mode, you can center your view. If, for example, you make some changes in the layout and then return back to the map, continue working with other scenarios, and then return back again to the network structure view, you will see that everything saves, and it saves also after the application restart. If you want to return back the default view of the network structure, just click this button and confirm your action, and that's it. Now, let me return back to the scenarios and let me import example of a network optimization scenario. So if import was made successfully, a notification appears that says me that everything is okay. And let me show you the result options for network optimization. This button opens this experiment settings. And here we see that we have 5 best solutions to find for this scenario. Let me run the experiment. And after it finish, we will see that we have 5 results. And let me do some map changes. So I want to filter the customers just to see the result more clear, because this scenario optimizes distribution centers locations. And if I look at these results on a map, I can switch between them here and see the new options of distribution center locations. Here, all of them are available. Also in the dashboard, we can see all the results that we have. For example, if I know that I want to see the third one, I can filter it by iteration 3 and see all the data that we have. Let me return customers back and show you one more thing. Another way to have scenario in anyLogistix, as you know, is import. And now you can take an Excel file that you created with your scenario and drag it onto the anyLogistix interface. After you release, you will see the importing dialog where you can change the name, click import, and you will see the scenario is importing now in the background process. I can still work with anyLogistix, run another experiments. This scenario is really big, so it takes some time to import it. After it finished to import, I'll see the notification that allows me to select or not select this scenario if I want to go to navigate to it right now or not. And also the importing process is available on every type of experiments for me to know that something is going in the background. And as I said, I can also navigate everywhere. For example, I can run one more experiment here, and they do not conflict with each other. So experiment was imported, and now I can click it, and automatically I will be navigated to tab Greenfield Analysis and Greenfield Analysis Scenario. And as you see here, we have 10,000 customers on a map. We made some improvements to optimize the map displaying with a lot of objects. So you can pan, you can zoom easily. All the customers and other objects can be shown in two modes. If we have not very much customers or distribution centers on a map, they are shown in the regular size. But if we over some limit, we will see them in the as a small circles. Also, I can select, for example, some customers on a map. Then if I want, for example, change icons for the selected customers, I can do this. And now I have only one blue icon available for the customer. I can add new one. Here is the dialog of adding new icon, and where you can select one of the predefined colors that we provide, or you can select any other color from these sliders, enter RGB values for your color, or generate some random color if you want. Any type of choosing that you prefer. Let me select, for example, this red one, and now I save it to the icon set, and you will see that map also updates. I see these customers in a red color, and also in the small case, they are also red, and I can separate them visually from another group of customers. Also, these colors can be imported with the Excel file. So you are welcome to use this. And one more feature that not one more, many more features that I want to show you. Let me return back to the simulation and import from welcome screen another simulation scenario, this one. So if scenario imports fast, I will see the notification immediately, and I will be also immediately navigated to these scenarios. And if you don't know which scenario you want to import from our examples, I'll show you that we have details here. You can expand any example, for example, again, simulation once, and read the brief information about this example, and also read more in our documentation with the problem definition, the way that this problem is solved, the goal, and so on. Many things about each particular scenario. Then you also can import and work with it. And now, let me show you the following. If for some reason I have this scenario which I do not want to work now, but I don't want to remove it from my project, I can just close it, and it will be hidden from the scenarios tab. And this menu will appear here, where you can find all the list of your open scenarios, which are represented here, and all your closed scenarios. For example, if I close another one, I will see that I have open one scenario and two scenarios closed. If I click one of them, it will be restored. Also, I can change the order of these scenarios. And if for some reason I closed all the scenarios here, I will see a view similar like welcome screen. And also I'll see here a tab with the closed scenarios. where I will see all my available scenarios that I closed. Let me open this one again and run simulation in fast forward mode. That means that it will be run in the maximum speed as the computer can and without animation. And right after it finishes, you will see the result. As I said, we provide dashboard, and also we provide an option of exporting data from the dashboard. And now we have two options how you can export your data. One of them to export all collected data, and another one to export plotted data. Now I'll export both of these cases and show you the difference. So one and another. And let me open them. And adjust a view a bit for you can see it not in this small scale. Here it is. So the left Excel file represent us the all collected data with raw values here, and the right one represent us the data that is shown in the anyLogistix interface. For example, if I select here the first line in the legend, you will see that almost all the time it has the same value. And these two options of exporting data can allow you to understand why it happens. For example, here we see that initial inventory in DC Austin by product furniture is 64, and the first month is always 64. But if we look to the left Excel file, we can understand why does this happen. We can see here and read that initial inventory was 64, but then at the day 5, inventory dropped till almost 8.9, and then after some time, it was fulfilled to 82.3, and then after some more time, we made some shipment, and inventory returned back to 64 according to our inventory policy rules. So the time here is represented as a number of a day. So the value 5.6 means that it's measured in days. And then we will see that the next inventory change will happen on a day 10 and also returns back to value 64. And if we scroll down, we will see that on a day 68, 67, we have different values. And also here, which we can see here, like drops of the level of our inventory. And that's it. So the left one shows us, again, only the measured values that happened during the simulation. And the right one shows us the values at the end of each day of simulation modeling. And let's return back to anyLogistix. And I'll show you one of the features I mentioned already. If we go to settings, I can switch language from English to Chinese. And after I click OK, all the interface will be switched into Chinese, except the data that can be changed by user. For example, I have dashboard here already in English, so this will be left in English. If I, for example, run this scenario again, I'll get another result, which is also be translated here. All the tables and experiments and so on are translated, except the object that we already named. Let me return back to English. And now I'll pause the demonstration and want to tell you about anyLogistix Professional Server version. So what it is and how it works and how you can use it. But first of all, anyLogistix Server is represented by a database and engines and solvers. So database can be internal or external. When you install server version on a Linux, you can choose if you want to use internal built-in database, or you can connect to your own PostgreSQL database. that you already have in your network. This database contains all the information about inputs, outputs, users and projects, and everything that is needed for anyLogistix to work. Over these inputs and engines and solvers work, providing the results that are also stored in the database. This server can be controlled by the REST API. And when the user of the server version opens the web browser on his laptop or personal computer and connects to the server, here he uses the API to work with server, but also it can be used by any programming language, API clients, and so on. It's the feature which is not implemented yet, but is coming soon. We will talk about it a bit later. And one more thing that is available with the server is that you can connect BI tool to the inputs or results of the database, again, internal or external, and read them directly from our database. And let me demonstrate you some example of how you can use it. I'll open anyLogistix now, but not the desktop software. And as you see, I use here a regular Google Chrome browser. And I have here the same interface that I have in the desktop application. I can work with the same scenarios. All the features are available. I can import scenarios, run them. Everything is the same. And now let's run this experiment in the fast forward mode and add a new chart on a dashboard. So I want to see the revenue statistics for DC Austin. And here is the updated dialog for adding chart. I'll select line. I want to see daily. I want to see revenue. Here is some preview available here. I want to select here DC Austin and the product furniture, for example. And here in this preview mode, I'll see the final result that I will get when I save this chart. Let me do it. So here we see the revenue for DC Austin and furniture on our dashboard. But for example, if I'll open the software which can connect to the database and make and execute queries to this database, I can see the following. So let me run the first one, the simple one. And I'll see that filtered by the revenue, I see all the values by all the keys presented here. If I want to filter them by, as I said, DC, Austin, and furniture, I can do this. And I'll see as a result the array of values that were collected during the simulation. And if I a bit transform this query to another way, to another way and execute, I can transform it to the data which is applicable to be shown anywhere. Even this application have a graphical visualizer where I can select row number by x-axis and value by y-axis, generate the line on this data output. And here you can see that this line is the same that I have in anyLogistix. What I can do more, for example, I can return back to the data output, copy all the values. Now let me return back to Excel files and create new Excel file. I can insert here the results of this query, put here an empty line like this, select data from the column C, And here I will see again the same chart as I see in anyLogistix. So I rename it to revenue, and that's it. And now let's return back to the presentation. And I'll tell you about our upcoming plans. So the first thing that we are working currently is multi-user. So this is an ability for several users to work on the same anyLogistix installed on the as a server application, just using their browsers. So we install anyLogistix on a Linux server, and every end user can connect to it using its browser, and using the resources of this server, work with anyLogistix in a simple way. And another thing that we plan to release is to open our API to make an ability to work with anyLogistix without interface, to run experiment chains or modify data and so on, just from any Python or JavaScript or any other. And also there will be an option of modifying an input data before running the experiment. So everything that can help our users to make an automation for their work. And the last but not the least, we will collect the feedback from you and from all our customers. So feel free to leave any ideas, any comments to our support team or in feature request. I hope this can make our software greater and better, to make your life also better and work easier. So for now, I want to thank you. Now I think we have some time to answer the questions. If you will have some questions that will be not covered by me in the rest time, you can email the conference at anyLogistix.com, and we will answer you with pleasure. Now I'll stop sharing my screen and open questions if we have some. I see the question about the insight on database connection with anyLogistix 3.0. I think that it will be better if you want to connect to the database or know some more details. They are pretty technical, and it's better to email to our support, and we will provide you the full information about how to connect to it, how to use it, and all the instructions. Let me check for another questions. Will there be any changes to the system for custom inputs and outputs without needing to connect to an external SQL server? So I think that when we implement API, so any changes with the input data will be much more easier. So you can read them from any source you want. You can put them to anyLogistix, then run experiments, update any data, run any experiment. I hope I answered your question. Do you have road networks for all countries in Asia, China, India, Taiwan, or only for USA and Europe? We have all road network, which are provided from our server. And as so let me again, I can share my screen now. Here, I can show you that here in our examples, we have road networks for all the countries. Let me open the example of global network examination. For example, if I zoom to India and show paths here, it will take some time to upload them. So as you see that if there are a road from the distribution center to a customer, we will upload this road and all the information about it. And both in simulation and analytical optimization will take the length of this road and the time into consideration. If there is the direct road path from point A to point B, you will see just a straight line. Let me check for another questions. I see some of them are already answered by our support team. So do not hesitate to answer any questions by email or using Get Support button. We are always open to answer all of them. Let me check the open questions. So thank you for the good words in the chat. I see them. I appreciate it. Also, I very appreciate that all of you have come to our conference. This is very important for us to see how people use the software and share this experience with others. And I think, good question. Can you use anyLogistix to compare or evaluate emissions output from different transport routes and modes? Let me again share my screen. The short answer is yes, we can, but I want to show you how you can do this. So in simulation, for example, you can open the paths table where you can choose the cost calculation type here for any pair of objects in your supply chain or maybe between some groups. And here you can see that we have two options. We can calculate the cost of transportation, and also you can calculate CO2 emission for each shipment. And in simulation, you also can add a chart which represents CO2 emission. And for network optimization, you can even add CO2 emission to objective. And for example, to run an experiment trying to minimize CO2 emissions, or transform somehow these CO2 emissions into money and reduce the costs, and so on. Let me check the earlier messages. Please, if I missed your question, you can repeat it in the chat, so I'll be able to answer it.
Hey, Andrei, there is a question towards the end of the chat. Two more questions towards the end of the chat. Okay. One from Hari and one from Martinez.
Will the extension editor be available for anyLogistix 3 as well? Currently, we do not provide any extension editor built in, but you can use anyLogix Professional from version 8.end.2 from the latest release, and you can create any extension you want just using the regular anyLogix. And then add this extension to anyLogistix if you need some instructions or help with the creating of your own extensions, or maybe moving extensions from the previous versions of anyLogistix to anyLogistix 3. Also, please contact our support team, and we also provide you all the instructions and help you to do this. Will you still be able to link to an external database for certain tables in the network optimization? Yes, you will. You can connect to any table inside the anyLogistix, but I want to warn you not to be careful, because if you corrupt some data, inputs, it can crash all your scenario. So be careful, and you can do this. Just look through all the tables in, for example, any tool that provides you access to PostgreSQL database, or if you will need some help, also contact us and we will help you to make some requests and understand how the data is located in our database. Can I use anyLogistix for humanitarian supply chain management? Again, yes, you can use anyLogistix in every area that you want. So we do not split any problems. So the most that you need to think is that which method should you use, what data do you have, and what level of abstraction do you want and do you need. You can do it step by step from greenfield to simulation, or immediately run it simulation. And the same I can say about the food waste. So if you have the rules which represent how it is generated or created, so you can also model it and optimize. Can you connect live data via sub to update tables like Hadoop? That then connect to anyLogistix and refresh the dashboard. What is the latency? Let me think a bit. So I think that if you want to connect anyLogistix directly to SAP, you need some step between to aggregate and prepare data from SAP. If you want to put it into anyLogistix, if you want to export this data or read it in some other tool, it can be used right after the experiment finished and data was saved. And the latency is, I think, just the speed of your connection. So the data that was saved to the database is available immediately. You're welcome. Maybe you want me to demonstrate something else. I think we have 5 or 6 minutes. Maybe a few details about some features. So if we have time, I can, for example, make an overview of the different experiment settings of the software. So again, here, as I said, we have the data. I can show you the mechanism of the validation. So if, for example, I make some wrong data or something else, for example, I have, for some reason, negative capacity for distribution center. And if I want to run the experiment, all the data will go through the process of validation. And here you will see the dialog that says that capacity cannot be negative. You will see the facility, distribution center, factory, supplier, or customer, which caused this error. And clicking fix, you will be navigated right to the cell where this error happened. You will see this cell highlighted with the error icon. Here I can fix it again to 0. And if I run experiment again, validation will pass me and run it. But also, if I don't want to run the whole experiment, I can just click check button. And if everything is valid, I'll see the notification. If I'll make a mistake and also click this button, I'll see an error message or warning message. So error messages are the problems that will cause potential huge misbehavior of the supply chain, or can cause some fails. Warnings is the type of problems which can be allowed for some reason, but we just warn you about this. And if you close this window, just to make sure everything in your data is okay and so on, and click again to this error label, you will again see the data validation window. And now you can check it again and everything is okay. Let me check, maybe there are some more questions here. AnyLogistix had the same capabilities of AnyLogic for exporting to AnyLogic Cloud. Not yet, I'd say. So AnyLogistix is the separate software from AnyLogic Cloud, and right now we do not have any connection between them. We have our own server, which can be installed also in the cloud, and you can use it if you want. But if there will be a request for such an options, we'll think how can we merge.
Okay, Andrei, thank you very much for the presentation. We're running out of time there. Great answers to the questions and some nice displays to help with the questions also. If anybody else has any more questions, please continue to write them to Andrei and he will answer them in the chat.
Thank you.